This is the Plain English Real Estate Show with your host, Rowena Patton, a show that focuses on the real estate market in terms you can easily understand. Call Rowena now. The number is 240-9962 or 1-800-570-9962. Now here's the English girl in the mountains, the agent that I would trust, Rowena Patton.
Good morning and welcome to the show. First off, let's say commiserations to all of Tony Bennett's family. We lost him yesterday, born on Long Island, I believe, in New York, just shy of his 97th birthday. How did he get to 97?
Wow, he suffered from Alzheimer's disease for the last 6 or 7 years of his life, but the music, he could perform. He could perform these songs even though his memory was gone. He still.
I left my heart. San Francisco.
Oh, the old timers, my gosh. And of course, he became known to a lot of young people in the last 5 years or so, I believe. So 2021 was his last public performance with Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
And that's only 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, commiserations. Rest in peace, Tony. You made it to the ripe old age of 96. He almost 2 weeks shy of his 97th birthday.
And he brought us so much great music.
Amazing. Gosh. So, welcome to the show, everybody. We talk about all things real estate related. You're welcome to call in with your questions. 828-240-9962. This is Rowena Patton, All-Star Powerhouse, brokered by EXP. And today I'd like to tell you more about our new program, the Cash CPO program. So over the last 3 weeks or so, we've actually been working with a CEO that buys up properties, remodels them, fixes them, cleans them up, and then gives you the majority of the profit. And we've now honed it into our CPO offer. Many of you who have listened for a long time know about the CPO or the Certified Pre-Owned. If you've ever been to a car dealership, you've seen CPO cars. That's where you get a black book value in real estate terms. That's the appraisal on the house. The cars have a 156-point inspection. That's a home inspection on the real estate version of it. And the real estate version of it, you offer a home warranty. On the car dealership version of it, you offer a dealership warranty. So a lot of people don't want to buy a car off Craigslist or, Facebook Market or something like that. It's fine to do that, of course. A lot of people want the security of purchasing a car from a dealership where it's going to be taken care of afterwards should anything go wrong. And probably many of us have bought that lemon car. Have you ever done that, Randy?
Big time, 1984.
Oh, I can't even. My first one was £500, which is about $750. And it was a white Ford Estate. What do we call the ones that are bigger at the back?
Station wagon.
Station wagon, yeah. They were called Estates in England. And it was white, and it was all rusty when I went to buy it. And what he didn't tell me was, not rusty, sorry, dirty, really muddy. There's mud all over it. I went and cleaned it and realised that was all the rust underneath, all the dirt. And I think within 6 months, the brakes were failing. And before that, I'm a college student, so somebody told me, you just pump the brakes really hard about 6 times and then they'll work. Yeah, true story. They failed on a highway. Yeah, it was very fun. We've all bought that lemon car, and they didn't have CPO in those days.
That's right.
I don't believe they did, at least.
I don't think so either.
I couldn't have afforded one anyway. I was a poor student. So CPO cars sell for 3 or 4% more on average. And that's because we want that peace of mind. We'll pay that little bit more because usually we're getting a loan or we're financing it or we're paying cash, but we'll pay that little bit more because we want the peace of mind.
Yeah.
What we're finding is everybody's talking about, there's nothing on the market. On the real estate market, that's really not true. There are homes out there. Many of them need a lot of work. And I'm actually working with agents around the country right now, helping them with the Cash CPO program. And it's very interesting. We've got about 600 zip codes covered now. We went from 300 about 3 weeks ago to 600 codes covered. We cover every major market in the country and lots of secondary markets as well, and we're bringing lots of agents into it. So when you're listing around the country, and we have people listing in other countries as well, but you're listing around the country, it's nationwide here right now. We will go international in the next year, but we're proving it here first. We've got an agent to cover you whatever market you're in, or maybe you've got a second home in Florida or something like that, or maybe you're in your second home here. We've got an agent that can cover you with this. So what is it? You'll know that I launched CPO. If you're listening for the first time, you don't, but CPOexperts.com, CPOexperts.com. It's so fresh, we don't even have the cash CPO program on there yet. CPO is where you get your home pre-inspected. You get your home perhaps pre-appraised. We probably don't need the appraisal right now. And depending on which market you're in, which location you're in, and then you offer a home warranty. So for the buyer coming in, your home stands out big time. And the problem with old-fashioned real estate, where we wait for the buyers to do the inspection and the buyers to do the appraisal, the inspection happens 7 days in, 10 days in, 2 weeks in. You've already taken your home off the market. Now, here's the issue with that. Over a third of the contracts fall out. I've taught this all over the country. We find the average is about 32% of contracts fall out. When it falls out, meaning the buyers find things on the inspection report that maybe they're first-time home buyers, it just scares them off. Maybe they're moving from another part of the country, which many people are in this area. A lot of people are moving out of New York, of course, and from California over here. And they're already feeling a little wobbly. And then they have that inspection report, and the average inspection report, I know if you've got yours listed right now, you're thinking of listing it, you're thinking, nothing wrong with my house. Here's the deal. I promise you, I don't remember the last inspection report that didn't have at least 20 items on it that need repair or further investigation. And it's usually about 14. Now, are they nitpicky little things? Sure, we all know that. But you have to work with the system, unfortunately, and then everybody gets fed up. And the buyers and sellers are, arguing about, well, this, you knew this was an as-is contract. You were buying it as is, and the windows were fogged when you looked at it, and I told you I wasn't going to replace that. This takes all of that away. Because you do the pre-inspection, you reveal the inspection when somebody's got serious interest. They look at it. We have one going on like this right now. The buyers look at it before you get under contract, and then they say, yeah, no problem, we've looked at it. It's very hard then for them to come back and say, well, we want $15,000 to fix X, Y, and Z. Or we want you to fix X, Y, and Z. It's very hard for them to do that. Very, very hard. So what's the issue if we give them the inspection after you're under contract? Again, that means your house goes under contract. Everybody sees it on Zillow, all of our websites, all over the place. Everybody sees a house has been pulled off the market. Ooh. And then everybody asks the question, what happened? We get all the calls from all your buyers in New York and California and Texas and Florida. What's wrong with that house? We really liked it, but what's wrong with it? So you've got what we call a stigmatized listing. So you want to avoid that at all costs. Now, if you have a listing right now and you would like our cash CPO offer, it's a full market value offer. Right, so even if you're listed, we're writing lots of these cash CPOs. If you heard the show last week or a couple of weeks before, we had the CEO of this program on and he went all through it. We can certainly share that with you again. Or actually, you can see it at realestateenewsradio.com, realestateenewsradio.com. Just click on podcasts and you'll see it was the last show in there. You can listen to the CEO talking about this. So the way it would work, we're putting in cash CPO offers on current listings right now. It may or may not be yours. But if your house has been sitting for a while or you just don't want those showings, I'm not trying to steal listings here. It's not what it's about at all. Your listing agent has the listing. That's fantastic. If you would like a cash offer, let your agent know about this and to contact us. And you can go to mountainhomehunt.com, mountainhomehunt.com, click on contact to get in touch. And we'll see if your home is a candidate. Some key things there. It can be between $200,000 and $6 million. They just bought one in Asheville at about $1.5 million. So it's all going on there. It doesn't matter what price point it's at. Your mortgage cannot be more than 70% of your property. And it's even better if it's 50% or lower. Now, why is that? Because the cash CPO works in two sections. The first section is, and you're all under contract with this, you're fully protected on this. They did 1,000 deals last year. We can record the addendum if you want, so it's all legally filed and everything else. You'll know me well enough by now, if you listen regularly, to know I wouldn't be getting in with, working with anything that's a bit dodgy or not insured and all that kind of stuff. So what they do is they give you 50 to 70%. It's all the ones I've seen so far have been 70%. It really depends on the value and the project that they're taking on. So you have a first closing. Well, let me step back a second. So you get a full proposal with what's called a net sheet. That shows you what you're getting on the bottom line. It shows you your mortgage amount. Remember that mortgage amount, you want that to be less than 70% of the approximate value of your home. If you need the value, again, mountainhomehunt.com, mountainhomehunt.com. Click on contact and we'll get that for you. Or you can call us, 828-333-4483. Again, this is Rowena Patton on the Real Estate News Radio Show, All-Star Powerhouse, brokered by EXP. 828-333-4483. We do have receptionists standing by, and just say you're interested in the cash offer on your home, the cash CPO. Just put cash offer. If you can't remember that, that's fine. We'll know what you're talking about. Make sure you give them your address and what your gut feel is for what you think it's worth, or any other information that you think is pertinent. So what happens? We take a look at your house and we ask the cash CPO czars, is this a candidate? So your mortgage is going to be 70% or less. So should they say yes, which we've seen yes on about 95% of them we've put forward so far. So let's say it's a yay, this is awesome, let's go ahead. What we then do is put all the details through to them. Their underwriters look at it. It takes 24 hours or less, and you get a full proposal with an offer to purchase your home. The purchase is based on the full market value. Step one, they give you up to 70%, sometimes more, cash within 12 days. Now, some of you are going, no, but we want to stay in our house. We haven't found something else yet. That's fine. You can stay up to 4 months. So you can stay as long as you need to stay. The great thing is about this, that when you close, i.e. when you sign that contract and they give you cash, you can now move somewhere else and make a non-contingent offer. What does that mean? Most people who are selling their home have to make a contingent offer on another home somewhere else. So whether they're buying in Western North Carolina, so say they're moving to Brevard, they don't want to move twice or stay with their kids or parents or rent somewhere while they look for another house. They don't want to move twice. So they make an offer on a house in Brevard contingent on their home selling. Now, with the market its way it's been, now this might change in a year or two as we flatten out and, prices start flattening a lot and there's already less inventory on the market. That's improving a little bit. We're getting more and more on there. But let's say they want to make a contingent cash offer. The Brevard seller is not very happy about that because, remember, a third of the time the contract drops out. So that's without CPO, right? So, oh my gosh, it really is the evolution and the revolution of real estate. It's a different way to do real estate. If your home was CPO in the first place, we could argue to the seller in Brevard, listen, this is a CPO home. On average, they only drop out 7% of the time. You're much more prepared. However, with the cash CPO, it takes it to a whole other level because you're going to have 70% cash. Now, we've got to pay your mortgage off. Many of you don't have a mortgage, so the cash is yours already. So then what happens? There's an addendum on the contract that says they'll go in and do anything from nothing to a deep clean, to paint the walls, to take the popcorn off the ceiling, to paint the cabinets and put some new hardware on. All that stuff that I've gone through with you a lot of times on the radio, prepping your home for sale. It's so funny. We have one of these offers out right now in Weaverville. If you're listening, I'm not going to say what your name is. And I talked to this person and I said, okay, let's talk about what could improve. And this is with a traditional listing. I'm very happy to do a traditional listing for you. It's worth looking at this just because it's a different way to do it. So we're talking about a traditional listing and a cash CPO listing and a CPO listing. There are 3 different ways of doing it. One is fully prepared and gets you out fast. That's the cash CPO. The other one is prepared. That's the CPO. And, your dropout rate sinks to 7% from 30% when you actually get it listed. And then there's a traditional listing, which has a 30+% chance of dropping out because you haven't had it pre-inspected. And they're going to ask you for a lot more money. And it could drop out. And you could end up with a stigmatized listing. All up to you. The cash CPO, by the way, the program pays for the inspection and the appraisal. The CPO, you pay for it. So there's another difference as well. I'll make a big table on all of this to share with you. So let's go back to the cash CPO. So the seller wanted to know everything about all of them. And I said, well, okay, let's say you want to put any time and energy into preparing this. So that person has a home somewhere else. The home is vacant right now, and they're ready to move on. Getting up there a little bit, the maintenance of the home when you've got 2 in different places, and it has an absolutely beautiful English garden that takes a lot of upkeep. And I said, the garden's absolutely beautiful. It's a great house with $1 million kitchen or $2 million. It's a kitchen you'd find in a $2 million house. Absolutely fabulous, gorgeous floors, gorgeous vaulted ceiling, gorgeous stone fireplace, views from the house, and it has popcorn on the ceiling. And old brassy fans that were there from the get-go. And I said, there's a number of things we can do. We can paint over the lime green walls, which are actually very pretty in some areas, and the blue in here, and we can paint it all off-white, and, with all the light coming into the home, it would brighten it up and really modernize it. And the person said, I've wanted to do that since I've moved in. I just don't have the time or the energy. I've even got the money. I said, no problem. They will do it for you and pay for it for you. And it would be really great to switch out the hardware. So they've got the Builder Basic brass handles and solid wood doors, actually, all over the house. But Builder Basic brass handles on the wooden doors. And I said, the shiny brass Builder Basic handles, we're looking at $800,000, by the way, around in terms of the price of the value of the house. Those are really bringing down the value. You don't expect to walk into an $800,000 house and see the shiny brass handles. She's like, I wanted to take those off since I moved in. And I said, a big one that's more expensive, probably $3,000 or $4,000, maybe $2,000 or $3,000, is go throughout the house and take the popcorn off the ceiling. You don't expect to see popcorn. She's like, I wanted to do that since I moved in. But it's time and energy, especially when you live in a house and you have furniture in it and everything else.
A popcorn removal thing's big deal. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a really big deal. I just did that in the house that I just remodeled and took it's always the first thing I do, because you mess up everything else.
Get this over with.
If it's the last one I did was a full gut job, so it really didn't matter. You didn't need to cover anything. There's carpet on the floor and the carpet was coming up anyway, and it's a mess. But it looks so much better when it's done, my gosh. And popcorn did serve an amazing purpose. The early popcorn had asbestos in it, so that wasn't so great.
Had a what?
Asbestos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it did serve as an insulation purpose, and also it covered up the lines in the sheetrock or the plaster so that you couldn't see those lines were there any cracks. And you could patch it afterwards, but we've all seen patched sheetrock and how pretty that looks. And then you got to put the ceiling paint on that never matches your original. We've all seen that. And then it's like, was there a leak here, or what went on with that? You're wondering what happened there. So after this conversation, so this is probably a good example one, actually. After this conversation, she said, how much do you think doing all of that would cost? And I said, well, I can get you I use those egg brushed nickel knobs because we're kind of expert in this. I've done 43 of them now. My whole team knows how to get into this and what it costs and everything else. The hardware costs you about $150 for the entire house. However, you got to have someone put them on, right? Which is probably twice. It's about $500. But if you get away from that shiny brass hardware on the doors, it's a thing that really hits you.
Especially on solid wood doors.
Especially on solid. So $500 is not that much of an investment. And yes, we can spray the hinges. You can get Hammerite where you can spray the hinges and it does stay on. I've lived in a house where I did this and 6 years later it wasn't chipped or anything. You just got to dry them right and everything else. So that's an easy upgrade for about $500. So there's $500. Let's go through the math with you. 500. The popcorn coming off, let's say it's 3,000. That's probably a little high, but let's say it's 3,000. Painting the house, 3,000. So there was something else. What was the other one? The fans. So put some nice modern fans in because it had the tulip lights and the brass hardware and the old bulbs in the tulip lights. Again, it's an $800,000 house, even if it's a $500,000 house or a $400,000 house, same thing. So there were a few other incidentals. So we put in an estimate of, the cleaning up the landscaping a little bit. We had an estimate of about $10,000. So on that $800,000 value, I'm doing the math in my head here. I'm so sorry, guys. Now I'm all nervous. Like, what if I can't do the math? Where's your calculator, Randy, just in case, because I might get embarrassed here. So we've got the $10,000 to take off, right? And here's the thing. If right now, as is, we're probably at $750,000. But the problem is it's going to sit longer because guess what? How many buyers do you think want to do all of that? You think that, buyers just want to do it the way they want to do it. You know, that's what we hear. Everybody's been watching too much HGTV. They want to go in, and especially at that price point, they probably don't have a lot of time.
Don't want to mess with it.
Yeah, and who wants to move into a house and then take the popcorn off or paint or anything else?
Really?
So the Cash CPO program has a whole team that go in and do it fast. And we're getting those, if you are a painter or a construction worker or a general contractor or a plumber or electrician, let's get you signed up. If you want to know how to sign up, we love helping local businesses. The project managers will then come to you and get you on board, but you've got to sign up there. If you want to know how to do that, mountainhomehunt.com. If you've got any painters or contractors you love, tell them to go there, mountainhomehunt.com. Click on Contact Us, put in their name, say it's a contractor, or tell them to do that, and we'll get them registered on there. So we've got this $800,000 home, and right now it's only worth $750,000, but we think we can list it at $800,000 with all of this done. Quite honestly, because of how it hits you and it's a little bit further out, it isn't downtown. The comps that we were looking at in the same standard that we were looking at was about $725, right? This is not trying to buy it cheap. These are just regular CMAs, regular comparable properties. We think we can sell it at $799 with all these improvements because you go in, it's freshly painted. The floors, we've done a deep clean. You know, it's been vacant for a while. There's a few cobwebs here and there. We put down some mulch. We do all of the landscaping. We paint it. We do the hardware. We put the fans up. It's just going to look very, very different when you walk in. So right now, you're going to get $725. So $725, the interesting thing is, and this is what I think people aren't looking at. So let's say you pay 6% in commission. And so you're going to net, and you're going to do, let's do attorney costs. I'm doing it all for you here in my head, so please bear with me. And I'm going to show you the difference between the two. So 40, and a lot of the times, the reason I'm doing these on the spot is because these examples are just coming in. It's not like I can spend my Friday prepping them because this example came in this morning.
Wow. And
yes, I could have gotten up at 5 a.m. this morning, but I didn't. Go figure. So let me go back now and take that off. You're going to pay probably, taxes, maybe back HOA. Let's say it's going to cost you $3,000 in your usual sales tax and your commission and everything else. So out of that, if you had no mortgage, bear with me, I'm doing this in my head, you would net, I'm not making Randy do the math, and he's very, very happy about that.
Yes.
-3.
They told me there'd be no math in this job.
I hope I'm getting my math right because I'm doing it in my head. $678,500. This is with a traditional sale when everything's paid off. Something like that. Now, that's not taking into account the fact that people will come in, do the inspection, and on average, they're going to ask you at that price point for at least $10,000, if not $15,000. So let's take $15,000 off to be safe. So, yes, I do math the old fashion way, and I write it down on paper. So you're at 663,500.
When you sold it at 725.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
When you sold it at 725, traditional listing. That's if they don't find anything more major. I know we all don't think there's a whole lot of major things going on. Okay, I can't believe I'm doing this to myself here. Let me rip this piece of paper in half because I need something to scribble on. And yes, of course, I can do this directly for your house as well. We're talking, for those of you who just tuned in, we're talking about the cash CPO offer and what you would get on a traditional sale and what you would get on a cash CPO sale. Okay, so with a cash CPO sale, you are looking at that same price, so $725, because we haven't done the improvements yet.
Okay.
So $725, they're going to come in and hopefully it will appraise at $725, but we're just going to pretend it all goes smoothly. It usually does, oddly enough. So you've got $725,000 is our starting price. And we're going to go times 70% equals, you can cash out right now, based on this example, at $507,500. Oh my gosh, you say, but I was getting $663,500 on the traditional. But wait, there's more.
Okay.
So now the cash CPO, I'm writing this all down as I'm going, program comes in, and they are going to spend, we said $10,000 on doing the improvements. Let's say so that was our example, so let's stick to the example. You've got your 507 already, and they are going to spend, let's say they're going to, well, let's do 10,000, that's fine. They're going to spend 10,000 on improvements. And remember, the offer stands at 725 right now. Now, the appraiser goes in. This is where CPO comes in. The appraiser goes in, the inspector comes in. You're still under contract with the CPO cash offer. Let's call it Bob. How about that? We'll call it Bob. You're under contract with Bob. It's the same thing. Bob's buying your house. Bob just happens to be the cash CPO offer. So Bob now is going to do his inspections and his appraisals. And we're going to ask the appraiser to do the before and after because we know what we want to do to it.
Before the $10,000 was spent on refurbishment, yes. And after.
Yeah, unless, and you know, this is this is Boolean codes at this point because are they little improvements? It might just be a deep clean. Has the painting been done? We could get painters there possibly the next 3 days, and the appraiser might take 10 days. So the improvements will be done. We'll get the improvements done if we can. So then the appraisal's done. But remember, we think we can sell it at $799. The appraisal comes back at $799 or $825 or whatever it. Let's hope it comes back at $801, right? Because it will do with the improvements. Otherwise we wouldn't be going in. We have enough experience to tell you what we could sell it at. Because here's the thing: there are homes out there, and people spending $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 have a choice. They're always going to choose the newest, shiniest listing, and they will push their budget actually quite substantially to be able to buy that one that doesn't take anything. We're all human beings. If we walk into a house that's got lime green walls and a purple wall in the bedroom and kids things up and, you know, maybe somebody used to smoke in the house and old fans, and then we walk into the same house. Have you seen HGTV, the before and after? Right. It looks like a different home.
Right.
Sometimes for a relatively small amount of money, but most sellers, I know this from experience. I sold 52 homes on my own just on the listing side last year. I've been in a lot of homes and sold a lot of homes and continue to do so. Again, this is Rowena Patton, All-Star Powerhouse, 828-333-4483. If you're thinking about selling, if you're interested in a cash offer on your home, if maybe you're for sale by owner right now, maybe you have it listed with somebody, we'll get the cash offer into your agent if that's the case, or we can get this cash offer in without you having to have any showings or anything else if you're not yet listed and thinking about listing. Okay, so let's go back to our example. The appraisal comes back at 801, the inspection is done, and it's going to show a few more items that are going to cost us another $10,000. That's normal.
That was in the other...
This is the cash CPO offer
right.
with Bob who comes in. We're calling him Bob because it's a bit easier to understand. So now we're going to spend $20,000 on your house. However, we're going to close now, much more likely, at 8:01. So now, even when we've spent that $20,000, we're going to net you a lot more money because you get the vast majority of the upside. There is nothing like this in the country. There might be Bob and Sharon who does it in Minnesota, and they, have done this with 3 homes last year. There may be those kind of, but this Bob bought, it's actually Fred, but Fred bought 1,000 last year, and he's buying 3,000 this year. It's a whole different kind of operation. So already you're seeing a $75,000 upside. Well, what's the downside in this? Well, the downside, if you like, I don't really think it's a downside. They take between 3 and 10%. It's usually 4.9 is what we've seen of the price, right? So you're already paying real estate commissions. You're already paying, that was what we came up with before on the traditional sale. You're already paying an agent to sell it for you most often. Even if you're a for sale by owner, you're usually paying the agent that brings a buyer, which is the vast majority of the time, 3% or 4%. And then you're doing all the paperwork on your own and holding yourself out to that liability, all the rigmarole that goes on with that. That's why nearly 90% of for sale by owners end up with real estate agents because they realize what a mess it is, especially when the first one has fallen out, which frequently happens. So now what they're going to do, let's say we sell it for $799,000 times 4.9%. They're going to take a massive commission of $39,000. It's not a commission; it's a concierge fee. $39,151. But you've got a pot of another $75,000 to take that out of. That is 40. I'm just going to rough it here. Another $36,000 you're making. So most sellers make between 95%. Some have made 120% of what it would have been listed at.
Wow.
And the cool thing there is you're getting money up front, right? You're getting you $507.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if it's not, if it's a lower price, if it's half that price at $400,000, you'd be looking at $250,000. And then they'd pay you, instantly. And they're paying off your mortgage, which might be $100, it might be nothing, but you can take your $250. I'm working on a $400,000 house now. And so, for example, we have someone that's going through this program. We can easily sell the house for $50,000 more. They want to move to another state and they want to get there now. They have children, dogs, cats, hamsters, 4 bedrooms, but the house is, it's busting at the seams. The kids are homeschooled.
Yeah.
The dogs are there. So they have to deal with showings all the time.
Wow.
But people are looking at other homes and they're going, somebody at some point smoked in this house and there's yellow stains on the ceiling and it needs painting and freshening up and that's why it hadn't sold. So this program allows them to get out, take their $250,000, there's no mortgage on it, and move to another state.
Not deal with showings.
Right, not deal with showings. And then we've got $50,000 more than they would have paid. And at that price point, because it's $425, let's see what that is, times $425. Why don't I just, I'm too snotty to use a calculator. That's what it is. I think it damages your brain, honestly. But I probably should do it because I probably get the math wrong sometimes. I don't think I do. That's because I keep my brain sharp by doing this. Times, I'll round it, of course, because I am doing it in my head. It's about $20,000 more it will cost them on a $425. Because, oh my gosh, you're paying this concierge company to go in. And don't forget, we've got to take any of the remodeling fees off as well. Obviously, you don't have to pay that. You don't have to do anything. The concierge program does it all for you. But the cost of that remodeling comes out of that additional profit. Now, on this example, $375 to $425, we've got $50,000. So the fee is $20,000. So we've got, just to be the same as the traditional listing, we've got $20,000 to do the repairs, which are painting, a few others. It might cost $10,000. So the upside is still going to be $10,000. They'll make more than were they sitting in their home, dealing with all those showings, dealing with it dropping out because blah, 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 because they weren't CPO, they didn't do the inspection up front. They didn't know what was wrong. It's just, This is going to revolutionize real estate. I really believe it.
I can see that. I don't see a downside to this.
I don't either. We're trying to pick holes in it ourselves.
Yeah.
Because the last thing we want to do is get our sellers into this. I've made my name on selling homes. We're at over 3,000 transactions in this market. And the last thing I want to do is get you in a program that fails.
No. Never.
Now, the problem is traditional real estate listings that aren't CPO fail over 30% of the time. That's why I started with Certified Pre-Owned, invented that program. It's in a best-selling book that went bestseller overnight around how to CPO your home. At the very least, get the inspection. So I just brought on somebody in Miami to this program. We're onboarding him right now for the cash CPO offer. And he said to me, don't you remember, because he's in radio and TV experts with me. We're in a same networking group. And he said, don't you remember, you taught me CPO back in 2011. I've been doing it ever since. I'm like, oh, wow, this is perfect for you. So now he can add the cash offer to it in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So if you happen to have a second home there, we've got a great guy for you that can traditionally list it. We're not taking away you. If you want to sit through all those showings and then not inspect it and have a 32% chance of it dropping out, that's fine. We'll absolutely manage all of that for you. Absolutely no problem at all. And there's really no sarcasm in there. It sounds like I'm being sarcastic. I'm not. We do lots of those.
It's what you do, yeah.
Yeah. And then we help you get the contractors in to fix everything. Remember, too, when you're not CPO and you haven't done the inspection up front, because some sellers say, well, the buyer's going to do that. That is very true. However, if you do it now, Bob down the street can fix it. It depends what it is. Obviously, you want a licensed contractor if it's electrical or some major plumbing or something, or you find out you've got the old PEX and, it just depends what it is. We can help you with that. But Bob down the street can fix some of it.
You can fix a lot of it yourself.
Maybe some cork behind the sink, which is a classic one, or your door doesn't shut. All those honeydew things
the screen's
you've been
broke.
asking her or him or to do for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. He's going to get around to it.
Yeah. We're going to get around to it. Yeah.
Around to it.
Have you ever seen the placemats that have around to it on it? It's called a round to it. You can actually buy those. So we all know we've got those honeydew projects. If you do them up front, when the inspection costs you about $475, $500, you say that's outrageous. Well, guess what? The buyer's probably going to ask you for $10,000 to $15,000. And if they do that, at least $5,000. You're paying $500 up front to know what's there, to have time to fix it. You don't have to wait to list it. You can fix them while you're listing it. And then we can notate that inspection and show people that those things have been done. The last thing you want is not to know, and you'd be amazed at the things that come up on the inspection. Listen to our inspection show with Manuel, an inspector we use very often, a few weeks ago. realestatenewsradio.com. Click on podcasts. Look for the one that says inspections in it and listen to that show. He'll tell you everything that comes up. It is scary. You just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So it's much better knowing those things up front, and then you've got time to get quotes. Here's the problem. Once you're under contract, we have to use a licensed contractor. Using a licensed contractor when there's a sign outside and they know you're under the gun, because now the due diligence period, we've got 10 days to get the estimates, to get the work done, and then close. You're over a barrel.
It's I did it with my mom's home. The goodwill in buying and selling radio stations, one of the intangibles that is included in the price of a radio station is called goodwill.
Yes.
Goodwill.
Yeah.
The pre-inspection creates so much goodwill.
Wow, that's interesting.
Goodwill.
That is very interesting.
It shows that you're not hiding anything.
Yes.
Everything's on the table.
Yeah, eyes wide open.
I'm going to fix this. I ain't going to fix that.
Yeah.
Bottom line, here it is.
Don't get under contract with me if you don't like this. I know you're very interested. You want to put in an offer. That is fantastic. However, I'm going to send you the inspection. I want you to look it over, and we do all of that for you if we're your agent, obviously. We'll share the inspection with them, and they get to look it over and then make their offer. Now, as a seller, you're thinking, oh, that's kind of scary because what if we haven't fixed some of the things? You'll be amazed that people will actually offer more knowing what's wrong than less.
Because of that goodwill.
Yes. It's honesty, it's openness, it's eyes wide open. You wouldn't know about these things otherwise. Sometimes we find, the worst ones are where we find something like a jack post. Many of you have got jack posts in your garage.
In your basement,
it's a jack post they're usually metal and round.
And they screw tight.
Yeah, and there's a little plate on the top and the bottom. They do screw tight. However, the problem is, go downstairs in your basement now. Actually, keep listening to us. Take your phone downstairs and listen to us. Look at that little plate at the top. You'll usually find there's a nail that's been hammered through one hole.
And bent over.
And then it's bent over. How did you know I was going to say that?
Because I've seen that.
If you're really fortunate...
In my own home.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're really fortunate, there's a screw been put through it.
Yeah.
Now, remember, they're often in a garage, and the appraiser's point of view or the inspector's point of view, or it should be your point of view, if a car comes in there and I actually had this, like an elderly father of one of my boyfriends when I was about 22, put his foot down on the pedal too hard and went through the side of the garage. Had he hit that jack post with the nail bent over or worse, nothing, he could have taken the whole first floor down.
Yep.
That's why it's so important. So it's silly things like that but there's a tip for you. Those need to be fixed down. A lot of them are sitting on concrete and there's nothing there.
Just sitting on concrete.
Yeah. And what I hear, and there's a plate at the bottom with holes in it where it's supposed to be fixed with concrete screws.
Yeah.
So, or the metal goes down into the concrete, which can be even worse because over time it corrodes.
Rusts, yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. Sometimes it's wood, just like you have the deck posts outside. They're supposed to sit on a metal plate so that it's the wood isn't wicking the moisture out of the concrete or the soil. Often you don't see that either. And what I hear from people is, it's been that way for 50 years. It ain't moved yet. Well, I understand, but these are things that will come up that people will ask for. And then I hear you say, well, I ain't going to do nothing. And then, listen, this is over 3,000 transactions. I can promise you that when you're in that state and you've been listed for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, or even 1 month, you have an offer in home and you're like, phew, I don't have to take the dog out anymore for the showings, or I don't have to take myself out for the showings, or I've got to scramble around and clean up because somebody wants to show it in 2 hours. When that bit is over, if you do a traditional listing or a regular CPO listing, that is, then you'll be very glad to take that offer when they're asking for $5,000 usually, or even $10,000 because you're done.
Yeah.
What's your time worth? What's your energy worth? What we're doing with the cash CPO is we're taking it to a whole new level. You'll know I don't like to sit still. I'm probably old enough now that I should stop reinventing things, but I got into real estate out of being a management consultant, and I could not believe my eyes at what was going on. I did not understand why all these deals were dropping out. That's where the programs came from, the buy before you sell program, the CPO program, and any number of others that we roll. That's what turned into me teaching in over 50 different real estate offices around the country. That's what turned into the book. And that's what we talk about on the radio show. I'm very passionate about, just because it's always been done that way doesn't mean to say that's how we should continue to do it that way, because it's not fun. It's not a fun process. So the cash CPO takes it to the next level. You're most likely to get the same amount, a bit less. It averages between 95 and 120%. There's even bigger stories than that, but those are outliers. We won't look at those. But even if you got 90%, wouldn't it be worth it to do no showings, have a clean, shiny listing that's going to sell longer, and because it's all painted and freshened up, and you don't have to be in the house for the showings. If you don't want to, you can be there for up to 4 months. But meanwhile, you can take your cash. They'll even do seller possession after closing for a short period of time. So you've got your cash. You can go and find that home in another part of Western North Carolina, anywhere in the country, south of France, wherever you're going, and you don't have to make a contingent offer. You're going to win that offer, which is amazing. That's what really does it. Because remember, your mortgage has been paid off. So if you're in a situation, maybe you've got a VA loan on your house. Now you can get another VA loan. Now you can take your cash if you want to, and put it against the mortgage. Or you can get a full mortgage if you still have the income to do it. I'm not even going to say working, because maybe you're a disabled vet and you're pulling in $4,500, $5,000 a month, or there's two of you pulling in $9,000 a month, is 100% disabled or something like that. Then you've got 9-10 grand coming in a month where you can get a mortgage, pull out your 600, 7,000, whatever it is in cash. Your mortgage is paid off, or maybe you got a $50,000 mortgage, $200,000 mortgage. That's paid off. You can get another mortgage on your new house, wherever it is. If you're going to get a mortgage, I'm guessing it's going to be, somewhere in this country for obvious reasons. Or you can take your cash and buy, anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Or you can get a mortgage here with your new VA loan, or any kind of loan. It doesn't matter. If you've got enough cash out to, put your 5%, 10%, 20% down, or whatever you want to put down, that's your choice at that point. You buy your house in Florida, you move once. It's a non-contingent offer. It's a cash offer. You're going to be very strong. You move all your stuff out of the house, and then it's relisted for sale, and then you get your next cash, which will bring you up to usually 95 to 120% of where you're at.
I don't see the downside.
Exactly. That's why I don't make any more money on this. If anything, just like CPO, it takes us more work. But I think we should work as realtors for our money. I think, we should be hardworking and help you through these processes. And if this process makes it way easier for you and allows you not to have to make a contingent offer. I had somebody that had Alzheimer's, actually. One of them had Alzheimer's, and they were going into a care home. And they wanted to get out. This program would have gotten them out.
Yes.
And it would have moved them much earlier, 6 months earlier, actually. And then they would have seen the upside. They'd have made, we ran the figures the other day, 130% because of all the remodeling that was done. Instead of the listing, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
If you've got an unfinished basement, by the way, and homes in your neighborhood have a finished basement, you might be 50 years old, 60 years old, 30 years old, wherever you're at, and you're like, I don't have the money to finish the basement, and I can't be bothered, I don't have the time, I work hard, or I'm retired, or we need to move into a care home, or we want to move to Minnesota by our kids. Whatever the reasoning is, they will come in and finish your basement for you. The CPO cash program will come in and finish the basement. What does that mean? Well, we recently did one. Bought it at $450. Spent $70,000 doing upgrades, painted the cabinets, put new hardware on, new floors down, spruced up the bathrooms, finished the basement, $70,000. That's an investment of $520,000. We sold it at $650.
Woo!
Yeah. Now, if you're in a neighborhood that's it doesn't have to be a cookie cutter. They're classic here. They are in a lot of places in the country. It's post-war, right? So it's the 50s through the 80s or 90s when we were building these little brick ranches.
Right.
Most of them were built on basements. A lot of people have said, just this example right here, we can go from $450 to $650 by finishing the basement. Don't quote me on that. This is one we just did. It's an example. Right, so don't, snip the little bit of the radio program and report me because I'm telling you can get that or something. There's my disclaimer.
Yes.
So if you're in a neighborhood, we will look at the homes in there this is a killer one. If you're in a neighborhood and you have the unfinished basement and you don't have the time to finish it out, why would you even bother with this program, right? Why would you bother? Because you can do it through this program. You're thinking of selling, but oh my gosh, for years you've gone, Ginny and Fred down the street finished their basement and they sold theirs. Maybe it's at $600. And ours right now is probably worth $399 or something. And if only we'd put the basement in, it would be worth $600. I can give you the comparisons on that. But especially if you're in a neighborhood or on a street with another house, it's got to be a similar size. The one we did had the exact same house across the street, basically. It's not exactly the same. It's finished with brick instead of vinyl and that kind of thing. But a very, very similar house, same square footage and everything else, because you have to compare apples with apples. So if you've got something like that, definitely give us a call because we can make you a lot more money. We can get people in there to finish it out very fast. You can release your money now. Let's give you the example of that one, $450,000. So $450,000. Come on, Randy, do the math for me. My brain's tired now. He's not going to do it for me. You knew that, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
So call us. You can win a trivia prize, 240-9962 if you can do the math. I'm only kidding. I'll do it for you because we've only got 5 minutes left. So $450,000 times 70%. They would have got immediately cash $315,000. And then I can't, if I had this pre-prepared for you, I would. But you can imagine with that, what was the upside that we made on that? 520, 650, $130,000. Now, you've got real estate fees out of that, which you would have had anyway. You've just got more money to take it out of. And you've, of course, got the remodeling. You've got to take that off it as well. But I promise you, you would come out way higher than the $450 that you were going to sell it for.
And less hassle.
And way less hassle because you've moved out, you've gone into your care home, you've gone into retirement, you've gone to move by your kids. If you're young, maybe you're moving in with your parents. Because I don't know, you got into trouble with your mortgage or something, or you got a job elsewhere, and you're in your 40s, and you take your whole family somewhere else for your new job. You're out and done. And then you get your next check as soon as we've finished and listed it. But here's the other thing. You've now got a CPO listing free because you didn't pay for the appraisal and the inspection. Not only that, your home, believe it or not, that home at $650 sold a lot easier. That home, and this is a real story, at $450 it sat for about 10 months on the market because it had an old carpet. It didn't have the basement finished. It wasn't enough room. It didn't have the extra bedroom. So at $650, it sold in 6 weeks.
Wow.
And that was only because the first buyer came in, got it under contract immediately, was coming from California, and then decided not to move. That's the only reason it took 6 weeks. It opened up for showings again, and it was sold within 1 week. So just because, it's more money doesn't mean to say people will spend more money. It's a different category of person that's coming in with that $650. It's a different group of people that are looking at your house. And they want it all done and finished. They don't want to do anything. And how do I know this? I don't make this up. This is from, our buyer's agents running around working with buyers who say, I just don't like... I mean, when I started out in this, I literally took buyers out. This is 2007, and they said, I don't like the green walls. Like, it's paint. But listen, there's no point getting frustrated and going... People can just see, and we'll give them a $10,000 credit. They don't want the credit. They want you to do the work.
Yeah.
So if you're in that situation and you're thinking about credits, or maybe you've been listed for a long time, get with your agent. You can, or if you just want us to contact them and put the offer in, that's fine too. mountainhomehunt.com. Click on contact, or give us a call, 828-333-4483. This is Rowena Patton on the Real Estate News Radio Show. All-Star Powerhouse, brokered by EXP. Give us a call if you're interested in this program, and I will make it very specific to your situation. I tried to throw a lot of situations out there today to give you an idea of how this works. So we've been talking about the cash CPO program, cash CPO program. Cash CPO is where it's at, no showings. The remodeling's done for you. You don't have to call the contractors. You don't have to have showings. Most of the time, you get the same money. You get 95% on average, between 95% and 120% of the value you would have listed at. Get your money out now. Stay in the house if you need to. Get the remodeling done. You don't have to do any of it. Pay any of it. They do it all for you. See you on the radio next week. Give us a call if you're interested. 828-333-4483.
This has been the Plain English Real Estate Show with Rowena Patton. Visit Rowena and post your questions at radioasheville.com or call her at 828-210-1648.